How's it going, everybody? This is Ruby, and welcome back to another modded Minecraft tutorial. Today we're going to be going over Autocrafting with applied Energistics using the ME system. So I decided to make a tutorial for this, considering I do have a lot of stuff about this in my LP series, but it's kind of spread around a couple episodes. So I figured, hey, why not? Let's go ahead and make a short and concise tutorial, and this way, if anybody asks in the future, we can point them towards this video. So let's start out with just the basic ME system. So here we have an ME controller, we have a crafting terminal, and we have a drive which has a drive in it, and we have a crafting monitor, and that's just to monitor crafting. And then we have a pattern encoder here, and this is to actually do some patterns that we're going to need later. So I assume if you're watching this, you already know the basics of ME systems and how they work, including like wiring and all that fun stuff. So if you don't know that, just try to follow along as best as you can. There's a lot of ME and AE tutorials out there, but that's not really what I'm going for today. So let's just start out with the basics. So for example, if we go ahead and say we want to be able to make our system autocraft a wood gear, we're going to go into our pattern encoder and we're going to do the recipe out. Or what you can also do is you can look for it in NEI. Whoops, and not give you a bunch of them, but do the R for recipe and then shift click the question mark. Now this will go ahead and put the recipe in there, but you can see it's going to look for river cane and bamboo, and unless you have that stuff, you don't want those in there. So you click them to get rid of it, and then you apply whatever you want to do. This comes in it comes in handy later for when you're doing different recipes that require different types of ingots, because like you can see, if we search copper ingot, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different copper ingots, and NEI is going to rotate through these. Like if we click here, you can see how it's going to rotate through all of them. If I click that, you can see it's got all these different, it's got 2 different types of aluminum in here, and guaranteed you're going to have, it's actually got 3, but guaranteed you're going to have different, not all these different types of aluminum. So you would want to make sure that you put the right resource in there. So let's go ahead and just do our 4 sticks recipe, and we're going to click encode. And now we're going to get an encoded pattern. This is going to craft 1 wood gear with 4 stick. So where do we put this now? Well, that's when you need one of these guys here. This is a auto-crafting machine, and basically how this is built is, if we just break this real quick, is basically this is just a 4x4 one, and we have 4 crafting CPUs and 4 pattern providers. And then what you pretty much do is you just make it a box, and you've got the assembler containment walls on the outsides, heat vents on the outsides, and all the goodies on the inside. And you can make these pretty big. So it'll let you fit more CPUs in, and it'll let you fit more patterns in, which is very, very handy. So this is where we're going to drop this pattern, and once you put it in here, it's actually going to show you the item you're going to craft, which is pretty handy. So if you accidentally got a recipe wrong, you, instead of trying to look through all of them and read them, like seeing, okay, this is for a wood gear, this is for, I don't know, like a windmill or something, you can actually see the item within the assembler chamber. So now that we have that ready, now we can come here, and you can see now it's going to show up as a craft item. If we go ahead and give it the 4 sticks that it needs, and we click on it, and here's where you can set how many you want it to make, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and tell it to make us 1, and there we go. It's going to go ahead and craft us 1. Now this is useful for just doing recipes within the crafting terminal. This will come in handy whenever you want to, say, build a redstone engine, and you can go ahead and click that, click the question mark, and it'll put the wood gears in there for you. However, this won't automatically craft the wood gears for you when a recipe needs it. So for example, for this one, I know I already need another wood gear and a piston, some glass, and some planks. So I would have to go ahead and make another gear if I had the sticks or the resources. Now, this is where the crafting monitor can come in handy. So if I say want to craft another gear, you can see currently crafting 1 wood gear, and it's looking for the sticks, and it's missing 4 sticks. So this is kind of where you can figure out if something's missing, if you're trying to do a recipe or anything like that. So and you can do the next and previous to look at the different jobs. And then if this thing had to make sticks, you would of course tell this, okay, you have to tell this machine how to make sticks. So you tell it wood planks is sticks. So then there would be subjobs spun up from the same crafting item to make the sticks. So we'll go ahead and cancel that. Let's move on to something a little more advanced, because I'm sure everybody knows about that. Let's move on to automatically processing items for recipes. So here I have a pulverizer and a redstone furnace and two ME interfaces. On the back, I have the pulverizer's yellow output with a basic import bus, and I have the redstone furnace's orange output hooked up to a basic import bus. And now remember, import means it's coming into the ME system, and output means it's going out of the ME system, not like out of the machine or into the machine. And we guys got some power down there, and the ME cable's running over here. So what I want this thing to do is I want this thing to automatically process cobble into sand. Now I could just come up here and I could just put the cobble into there, but I want this ME system to automatically make a sand when I need it. For example, if we're making something with glass, like some glass panes, you can see I'm going to need 6 glass, but I don't have any, and if I have some glass or I have some sand or cobble in there, it'll go ahead and make it for us. So let's go over how to do that now. So this is going to be a bit weird to understand, but basically you're going to tell it what you need it to do and what the recipe technically is. So for example, if we want to take a piece of cobble and get a piece of sand, we're just going to do this. Now, while obviously you can't craft a piece of cobble into a piece of sand, technically the pulverizer can do that. So we're going to go ahead and encode that, and as you can see, it crafts 1 sand with 1 cobblestone. And this is where the ME interface comes into hand. So if we go ahead and pop this in here, you can see it's going to put it down here into this processing area. So this has plenty of storage. You can see 9 slots to store different recipes that you want this machine to process. And you can always put another ME interface next to this and bring it into the same machines. I know I've had to do that before. So now you can see that this thing is going to, anytime you need sand, it's going to grab a piece of cobble and do that. So if we look in here, now you can see we have a recipe for sand. Let's drop a piece of cobble in there and let's tell it to make us a piece of sand. You can see that the cobble automatically got put over here, put over there, and then if you say weren't going to do glass into this one, like this one's automatically coming over there, but you could, for example, set this to empty and then set this one to the red. There you go. Or I'm sorry, there we go. There. And what that will do is that will go ahead and get all of the stuff out of there. And then what this will do is bring the piece of sand back into your ME system, like that. And then you could even tell it that sand is equal to glass. Put that in there, and then this is where the redstone furnace comes in handy. So you can do craft 1 glass with 1 sand. So as long as you have a piece of sand in there, we can craft a piece of glass. And there you go. It's going to go ahead and drop the sand in there and automatically craft the glass for us. Pretty simple stuff. It kind of is confusing at first. And another thing that we're going to go ahead and take a look at is processing items that take multiple machines. So one of the big items that I use a lot in FTB is the resonant energy cells. This is not resonant energy cells, resonant ender buckets. And this is mainly used to make like test racks and stuff like that. So to make one of these, it takes a few steps. So for example, we need a couple things. So this is where kind of thinking on your toes comes into hand. So we're going to take 4 ender pearls, which is equal to a bucket of ender, and we're going to tell it that this is equal to that. And then if we go ahead and grab us a resonant energy or resonant ender bucket, and we tell it that is the result, and there we go. So what this is going to tell it is that once we encode this, is that you can craft 1 resonant ender bucket with 1 bucket and 4 ender pearl. So this is where things get a little more complicated, so we're going to go ahead and put that up here into this interface. And what this interface will do is automatically shoot any items down into the chest below it. However, you're not going to be able to open the chest, as you can see. So now we use some item ducts, which are from thermal expansion, and here we have the redstone just set to ignored, and then we have servos in both of these outputs, and we have both of them set to whitelist. And then for the magma crucible, which takes the ender pearls and makes it into resonant ender, we have a whitelist set for ender pearls, and then for this one we have a whitelist set for buckets for the fluid transposer, because once this thing gets all of the ender juice from the magma crucible, and it's automatically exporting over here into the fluid transposer, and you make sure you get all your inputs right, even for the top of this one, because I think normally this one is by default yellow on the top. So make sure that it's blue on top so it can do the input. So let's go ahead and drop some of these items in here, and let's go ahead and craft us a ender bucket. You can see the bucket went ahead and went over here into the fluid transposer, and the ender pearls are going to come over here into the magma crucible. Once these guys melt down, they will go ahead and come over here. So you can see we've already got 500, and now we have 750. And once we get 1,000, this will start processing resonant ender bucket. And then what we can do is on the back, like so, we can have the basic import bus, and that's going to take the resonant ender bucket out of here and put it back into our ME system. And there we go. We have our resonant ender bucket. One last thing I want to cover is this isn't really auto crafting, but this is kind of some ME system trickery, is that I needed obsidian in my LP world. I needed a lot of it. So obviously we'd use an igneous extruder, but I wouldn't want this thing just running around the clock all the time, because who needs that much obsidian, right? So what I did was I built in a level emitter to control it. So basically how this works is, now you can't use basic import buses for this. You're going to have to use a precision one, or I think even the fuzzy one has the redstone options. But basically what you're going to want to do is make sure that the redstone mode is set to active without signal. So basically anytime it does not have a redstone signal from the level emitter, this thing will actively be taking obsidian out of the igneous extruder. So we just have our water input here with an aqueous accumulator. We have some lava here coming into the side, and the level emitter, we have it just set to 5 for this. I believe in my LP world I have it set to about 250, and we put a piece of obsidian in here, and then make sure this is set to emit when the levels are above or equal to the limit. And the limit is the number that you're setting right here. So since we have at least 5 in here, we have 5, so that means it's going to emit some redstone. So if we go ahead and take that out of there, you can see it went ahead and took 5 of them, and the redstone turned off until this precision import bus filled the ME system back up with 5. There we go. So it's going to go ahead and deactivate the import bus, and the igneous extruder will go ahead and make some more obsidian. There's no real way of stopping this thing, and there's no real need to, because it's always nice to have an extra stack just to kind of buffer how much obsidian that you need. So one last thing that we can go over is different ways of processing ores. So you have a couple options here. Is that what you can do is that you can always export stuff. If we get an export bus, and we do a precision export bus, here we go, and go ahead and bring this guy into the back. And this is where you could supply your different ores. And let's go ahead and hook it up. There we go. So this guy will automatically get copper ore put in over here. And then what you could do is get some item ducts, get a servo, and get a wrench to set it. Is you can then come over here, set this guy like that, and then automatically export into the pulverizer. And now this is useful for anytime you get any type of ore, that it will automatically get put into the pulverizer. I do this except with an electric furnace, because industrial craft's a little quicker. So anytime any of the ores, any of the main ores like copper, iron, gold, any of that kind of stuff comes into my system, I get it automatically smelted. Other people, I've noticed, like to just process the ore as they need it. So they'll actually store ingots as well as ores. So you can do this like so with a copper ore, and you set it that it's equal to a copper ingot, and you can put that into your pulverizer's processing. So anytime you need a copper ingot, you can tell it to begin, and give it a piece of ore, and cancel that. I don't know why that was still running, but give it a piece of ore. You're going to get your pulverized copper. So then you have to tell this thing the next recipe, which is one of these is equal to a copper ingot. Tell it done, and we actually need to adjust this recipe. So what you can do then is throw that in there and tell it that that ore is equal to 2 pulverized copper. Which one is it? There we go. So one copper ore is equal to 2 pulverized copper, and then 1 pulverized copper is equal to 1 copper ingot. So we can go ahead and throw this guy in there and craft us one of these guys, and it will go ahead and pulverize the copper, and we'll get the pulverized copper, and then it'll automatically come over here into the redstone furnace and smelt and become a copper ingot. So that is going to be it for this tutorial. Hopefully everything was clear and concise, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer your question. If this video helped you out, or if you enjoyed it, a rating would be very much appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe. As always, have new FTB and modded Minecraft videos coming out almost every other day, if not every day. Thanks.